Hi there, this is Akasha, and welcome back to Alchemizing Your Awareness in Asana, this 7-day series here that I'm hosting on YouTube. Today is about four-limbed staff pose, or Chaturanga Dandasana, and this is a really challenging pose, especially if you're holding it in a static way, right, where you just hang out there. Early on, I have to admit, in my alignment practices, my teachers were very prickly about being able to sustain the shape in a proper way that allowed energy to flow through the whole body. And in most flow classes, we often practice this four-limb staff pose, or we lower down to Chaturanga Dandasana from that plank position. So we start high and then we go low. And then we move into the next shape. And I actually learned this pose from the floor up, and which is really kind of the opposite direction of most flow practices, right? We always go plank, chaturanga to upward facing dog, or all the way down to cobra. And I remember, I guess I should share with you that I studied Iyengar yoga first and then went into vinyasa and onto many other styles. But I really do keep my roots in alignment. And if you've been watching this series, there's really no surprise there, or any of the videos on my channel, because I'm really here to help people facilitate alignment in their lives. And four-limb staff pose, when it's held for more than just 1 to 2 breaths, it becomes a really powerful teacher. And a lot of people, they don't want to hang out there because it's hard, it's challenging. This pose really creates a space where you can tap into the energies of your power. And that's what I love about this particular pose, because the way that I enjoy teaching Chaturanga Dandasana is from the floor up. And when we can bear our own weight, this is really indicative of how we can support ourselves, not only in our practice, but also off the mat, out in reality in our life, right? For men, this is a pose that's usually pretty easy considering, right? Not all people, but for the male body, it can feel a bit easier because a lot of, or dominant amounts of their muscle mass are in their chest, their shoulders, their arms. As opposed to the female body, or in juxtaposition is a better way for me to say that. For women, a lot of the muscle mass for the female body is in the hips, thighs, glutes. So holding this pose for just a few breaths will really help you start to understand where you're overworking and where you might be underworking, which is usually the case for a lot of people when it comes to this particular pose. And what's interesting is, in this pose, if you have muscle systems that are not in balance, it can really create problems in the shoulders. It creates problems in the wrist. It can also be problematic for the neck as well as the low back, because people tend to swoop and go into that upward facing dog. So this pose of four-limb staff, or chaturanga, as you'll hear it called often, it strengthens the tricep space, so the back of the arms, the rhomboid space, which is between the shoulder blades, and of course it tonifies the abdomen as well as the organs of digestion. However, I personally think that this pose really tonifies our focus in a powerfully potent way, which is absolutely needed as we move into arm balances, which is really what I'm offering you in this series, is that when we're moving into arm balances, we must understand the energy and the mechanics, along with navigating our own inner narrative, our own, narrative around challenging poses like crow balance, or challenging poses like side crow or handstand. These are all things where we need that power in the arm and the core. And as I've mentioned in other videos in this series so far this week, is when you understand how the energy is expressed in a shape, and then how it also needs to flow in that shape, what you can begin to do is shift your consciousness around what it means to do the shape. And this is one of the things that I'm really here to help people understand, is if you can shift your consciousness around doing the shape and more easily begin to alchemically shift your awareness around being the shape, what happens is you start to allow energy to move through your body in a very different way. And it's not based on dominating and facilitating something. Instead, it's allowing it to express through you with the breath. And to feel strong in four-limb staff pose, we've kind of got to look at places in our body where we feel maybe there's a challenge. Maybe you have shoulder injury history, or, upper back issues or neck issues. And then apply our awareness to these areas with breath and focus. And really, when you start layering breath and focus, we could really say that this is also known as the onset as intention, right? If our intention is to move through the shape, then we must understand how the container of the shape needs to shift to go from one expression to the other. And this is really going from doing to being. And those are very different types of energy. One is very solar, one is very lunar. And we want that alchemy of the two, right? And I'm going to leave it there for this intro video for Chaturanga Dandasana. I'm looking forward to sharing in the live today, the 4 p.m. class that we'll be doing, some amazing ways for you to shift your consciousness in the shape that is Chaturanga Dandasana, or four-limb staff pose, and to really allow this to become a place of power for you, a place of power in which you are empowered to move into new form instead of a space that you might just want to get out of. So I'll see you on the mat very soon. And again, if you're watching the playlist, they are going in order, but watch them any way that you want. The live classes are being held at 4 p.m. The playlist is titled Alchemizing Your Awareness in Asana, and I'll see you back here soon. Bye, everybody.